Alright, what is up, guys? Brian here, and this is my WWE Monday Night Raw key point thoughts. I'm going to give my thoughts on a couple of key points that took place, or key things that took place on Monday Night Raw this past Monday. So let's get right into it. We had an opening segment with Roman Reigns making his announcement of what he is planning on doing for SummerSlam. And he announced that he is going to challenge for the Universal Championship, and he'll face whoever is the Universal Champion come SummerSlam. So that was a pretty huge announcement. Roman basically said he doesn't care if it's Brock Lesnar or if it's Samoa Joe. He's facing whoever's the Universal Champion at SummerSlam. Samoa Joe would come out. They would get into a brawl. This would lead to a match between these two for later on in the night. My thoughts on the opening segment between Joe and Reigns, I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought Roman Reigns really did a great job in this segment as far as his promo is concerned. To give a lot of heat for his match with Samoa Joe later on in the night, basically saying that he's just going to be, the guy known as Joe, and stuff like that. So that was pretty good to see for the opening segment. The match itself, I thought, was freaking awesome. Both guys, giving it to each other. Reigns hitting Superman punch and a spear, and Samoa Joe coming out of it. Samoa Joe, hitting some big moves on Reigns, and Reigns kicking out of every move that Samoa Joe hit. The finish came with where we saw the return of Braun Strowman. There was an ambulance that pulled up. Reigns was in the ring. They showed an ambulance on the pulling up on the Titantron. Reigns is like looking around. Where's that sound coming from? He looks up at the Tron. He sees the ambulance. Strowman comes out of the ambulance, and Reigns gets distracted looking at that, and Samoa Joe snuck up, locked in the Coquina clutch, and Roman Reigns passed out. So Samoa Joe picked up the victory in this matchup, building momentum for himself heading into his Universal Championship match against Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire, where he'll be challenging for that championship in a couple of weeks. So a big win for Samoa Joe on Raw Monday, in my opinion. Afterwards, Strowman came out, basically just said what he's been always saying, that he's not finished with Roman. He would then pick Roman up and give him a reverse chokeslam. Then would make a challenge to Roman for Great Balls of Fire in an ambulance match. So that looks like that's going to be another big, huge matchup coming up for Great Balls of Fire. Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman. The match itself between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns, I would recommend checking it out. It was great to see Strowman return. So we'll have to wait and see what happens coming up in the next 2 weeks, I believe it is. I believe is when it's a week from, or 2 weeks from Sunday, as far as their match is concerned. And if you guys have not checked out if you did not watch Raw, and you did not see Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe, I would recommend checking it out. Another good segment on this show was Miz TV, with Miz, and his guest was none other than his wife Maryse. Basically, Miz had two bears, two teddy bear guys dressed up in teddy bear suits, holding up signs saying I'm sorry because of what happened 2 weeks ago, where, during an altercation with Dean Ambrose, Miz doing his celebration for winning the Intercontinental Championship back, thinking that Dean Ambrose was in these gifts that Maurice got him. It's destroyed a grandfather clock, destroyed, other stuff. Basically, Miz came out for this segment, apologized to Maurice. Maurice forgave him. Dean Ambrose would come out. Dean Ambrose would try to go after Miz. Miz would pull Maurice in front of him, not realizing she had a glass of champagne in her hand, and the glass of when he pulled her in front of the glass of champagne, went into her face. So, and then she basically left, went back to the locker room. Miz was like, "I'm sorry." He would go after Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose would try to hit dirty deeds. Miz would get out of it. Dean Ambrose clotheslined Miz over the top rope, knocked him to the arena floor. The two teddy bear guys, they would attack Dean Ambrose, and then be revealed as none other than Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. So, and then that would allow Miz to hit skull-crushing finale on Dean Ambrose, and that ended that segment. Which brings us now to the end segment, the final segment of Raw, who was behind the attacks on Enzo and Cass. There had been a lot of suspects named, mainly the Revival and Big Show. This was actually a pretty good segment in and of itself too, because you had Revival coming out basically saying that they had nothing to do with it. Big Show, same thing, nothing to do with it. Then Corey Graves would come up and basically say that he had security footage of Big Cass's attack last week or the week before, and that Big Cass was never attacked. They basically showed footage of Big Cass in the locker room or the backstage area, putting stuff down on the ground, kicking a box, and basically just laying down on the floor by himself, face first. And then Cass basically admitted that he attacked Enzo a couple of weeks ago, and then basically told him, "You know what, you're dead weight, you've been holding me back, and basically we are through." So, and then gave him a big boot to Enzo Amore, and that was pretty much it for that. I'm sorry I'm not explaining it very well. If you guys have not checked it out, I would recommend checking that segment out and for yourself. I thought it was a pretty good segment to end Raw. They finally they finally made the reveal of who attacked Enzo. Pretty much good segment to end Raw, but now we just have to wait and see if what this does for Big Cass's career. I'm kind of glad that they broke these two up, even though they did not have a title run as a team. But I think this is going to be a good thing for Big Cass going on his own. But like I said, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But my thoughts on Raw this past Monday. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but my thoughts on Raw for Monday. It was better than last week. But those four things: the opening segment with Reigns and Joe, the match with Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe, the Miz TV segment, as well as the final segment with Enzo and Cass, I thought were the main things to see on Raw. So if you guys have not checked out Raw, I would recommend checking those segments out. So with that being said, if you guys watched Raw on Monday, let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. This has been my Raw main points thought recap as well as thoughts on these segments and matches. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.